What's your favorite thing about being a dungeon master? Is it the world building, the intricate storytelling, your growing collection of minis, the look of fear in your players' eyes when you suddenly reveal their favorite NPC is in fact a beholder in disguise ready to destroy their pitiful lives? I mean, those are all great reasons, but one particular aspect of being a DM that I like is the chance to build some homebrew magic items. There's nothing wrong with using items that already exist in the books. The Dungeon Master's Guide has a whole section of that if you're a newer DM. But sometimes you want to add your own flair to it. Now, there's no real wrong way to go about making a magic item, but if you're new to being a DM, making homebrew items, or are just looking for more inspiration for your own campaign, well, you've come to the right place. Here are 5 ways I go about creating a magic item. 1. Create an item for a specific player. If you have a friend who's really into a certain fandom, character, or hobby, then that can be great inspiration for building an item for them. Here's an example from my own campaign. My good friend Ilnej, see below for a link to his amazing YouTube channel, absolutely loves Pokemon, and if you've seen his videos, you won't be surprised to learn that his favorite Pokemon is Delibird. I decided to use his love for this adorable bird as an inspiration for the following item. Del E. Bird's Big Ol' Bag of Fun. This magical white sack is here to bring explosive fun for all. As an action, you can grab a present out of the bag and use it to attack your enemies. But be careful, sometimes the gifts can help them rather than hurt them. Roll a d10 to determine what happens. 1 to 2. Enemy is healed for 1d6 hit points. 3 to 6. Enemy is dealt 1d6 force damage. 7 to 9. Enemy is dealt 2d6 force damage. 10. Enemy is dealt 3d6 force damage. You can use the bag 3 times per long rest. Delibird's signature attack is Present, a move where he throws an adorable present at the enemy Pokemon. I actually took the stats and percentages from Bulbapedia and converted them over into stats for D&D. There's a 20% chance of healing the enemy, 40% of dealing regular damage, 30% of dealing double damage, and 10% is given to the natural 20 equivalent where it deals triple damage. It was pretty easy to convert the stats over in a D&D format, but don't feel like you need to be constrained by math. If you can create an item based on something else without it being too game-breaky, give it a shot. Players will appreciate the time you take to make an item that is so specific to them. And even if it's just a goof item, it could end up being a player favorite. 2. Create an item for a specific race or class. Sometimes building an item with ties to a specific race or class can be a good jumping off point for new DMs. If you played any games before this, you'll have some background for the strengths and weaknesses of the classes and races you played as or had in your party. For example, if you were a sorcerer or wizard, you know that they aren't the hardiest of classes and could definitely benefit from items that help with increasing armor class. Think back to what kinds of items could have been beneficial for you, and think about what your players will need in the meantime. Another item I made for Ilnej tied really well into his character's class. He played as Maris, a Triton bard. I thought about what kinds of items might be beneficial for him, as well as what would go with the aesthetics of the character. Bards are great support players with a lot of variety to how they can be utilized. In Maris's case, he often wasn't on the front lines since the party also had a barbarian and a blood hunter. So I created an item to help improve his distance fighting, as well as keeping in tune with his bard persona. Amp of Thaumaturgy. Blessed by the power of the legendary bard Fender, this box helps to amplify the range your music can reach. Imbued with the power of Thaumaturgy, any spell attacks made while activating the amp can reach twice as much range as the spell normally provides. This does not apply to touch spells like Cure Wounds. The amp can only be active for 1 minute, using a bonus action to activate. Resets after long rest. The amp went well with his musician's aesthetic, while also serving a good function for battle. It allowed him to cover more ground in case anyone was in need of healing or backup. Think of items that a class or race would potentially find valuable, or go well with their aesthetic. Rogues could benefit from a unique type of dagger, and it would be something they could have picked up on a stealth mission. Check back through the race and class sections of the player's handbook and see if anything springs to mind. 3. Create an item based on a real-life object. While I was coming up with magic items, I looked around my apartment to see if anything jumped out at me. In my medicine cabinet, I saw a tube of icy hot and thought, I wonder if I could turn that into an item. I created the following. A swath of ice and fire. You can use an action to try and place the bandage on an enemy, and they must make a dexterity saving throw of 15. If they fail, the bandage is adhered to their body and deals 2d6 cold damage. The following round, the enemy can attempt to remove it by making a strength saving throw of 20. If the bandage is still secured, then they take 2d6 fire damage. The bandage will then fall off the following round, and the enemy will have a distinct smell that gives them disadvantage on stealth checks for 1 hour. Can use once per long rest. I took 3 things about the item that I knew. First it gets cold, then it gets hot, and no matter how much you try to wash it away, the smell of it lingers for quite a while. I converted it into a magic item that therefore dealt cold and fire damage if it hits, and the smell was an added bonus that I thought really made it funny. Look around your home and see if there's anything in it that you think could work as a magic item. There are plenty of ways to adjust it and make it fit within the universe. Basic mundane items in the real world could be converted into something extremely beneficial in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. 4. Create an item based off an existing magic item. Sometimes you'll be looking at the list of magic items in the books already, and maybe it's one you've had in a party way too many times, or it's one that doesn't quite work for the party you're in now. Perhaps there is a way to tweak it in your favor and build upon an already existing item. One of the more infamous magic items in D&D is the immovable rod. I tried to think about my players and if it would make sense for them to come across this. That got me thinking, what if someone forged an item made out of immovable rods? Could it possibly still contain the magics that trap it in place? That's what led to this item. Anchor of Immovability. An iron anchor 2 feet long, connected to a chain 10 feet long. This item was forged from several pieces of immovable rods. On an action, if the user yells out, "Cast the anchor!" the anchor and chain become magically fixed in one place. It will stay in place until the phrase, "Weigh the anchor!" is called out as an action. If the chain is wrapped around a creature of size large or below, they must make a strength 30 save to remove the chain from them. The chain will not hold creatures bigger than large size. 2 of my players had backgrounds involving the ocean, so it made perfect sense for them, and I thought it would be a really great asset for an upcoming session on the water. Maybe you want a particular type of item, like a potion, but the list of existing ones isn't quite what you want. Use them as guides when you're deciding the numerical values for it, but don't be afraid to build off of what already exists. Not every item you come up with has to be wholly original. 5. Create an item to fill a specific purpose. My current group of players doesn't have a designated healer, so I knew that health and hit points was going to be a constant struggle for them to deal with. They aren't the richest group, and while one person is in the process of learning how to brew potions, they're still a bit low level. In order to give them a chance, and also to give them a fun little joke item, I made this. Bargaining chips. A sack of fried crispy potatoes that tastes almost stale, but still edible. The user will gain back hit points matching whatever they give in exchange that round. Bonus action, D4. Action, D6. Bonus action and action, D8. Bonus action, action, and reaction, D10. There are always 10 chips in the bag to start, despite its size, which resets each long rest. I wasn't giving them straight health potions, and the chips would be useless in assisting a player when it came to death saving throws. It gave them a little bit of help, but they have to be smart in how sparingly they use the chips. There's a limited number, and they might need to choose between attacking an enemy or keeping themselves alive. If there's a particular need your group has, try to find items that help make the party more balanced. Got a large group of mostly fighters without a ton of magical assistance? Maybe create something that shoots off some magic if they encounter an enemy with resistance to non-magical attacks. Are the majority of your players wearing heavy armor and have disadvantage on stealth? Maybe creating something to help boost their stealth stats could be really useful for them. Talk to your players and ask them about the group's strengths and weaknesses if you want to be really sure. This is good to do in general, just don't let the players walk all over you. Oh yeah, I really could use a super awesome sword that does like 20 d8 damage and makes me resistant to all damage. Overall, there's no real wrong way to create your own magic items. I just hope that these 5 ways I've provided help to form some inspiration if you're feeling a little stuck. Feel free to use the items I've listed here in your campaign if you'd like, just be sure to credit me. Are there any magic items that you've made that you're particularly proud of and want to show off? Comment below with the name and description of the item with the hashtag MagicItemMayhem, and I'll do a shout out in the next video. And hey, if I really like it, maybe the next time my players find a treasure hoard, I'll include it in the lot. Thanks for checking out another of my D&D Doodles. I know this one was a little more informative than the last one, but don't worry, more ridiculous stories from my D&D sessions are on the way. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to help support this channel and see more fun stories in the future. I'm Kaluna, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey everyone, I wanted to take this opportunity to give a quick reminder about how Patreon works. It's a website that allows you to pledge a certain amount of money per month to your favorite content creators, allowing us to actually make a career out of this. Depending on how much you pledge, you get a variety of rewards in exchange. Some of my rewards for you include having your name in the credits, joining my Discord chat room, and getting early access to my videos. Every little bit counts, so even if you can only do $1, that really builds up over time and helps me to make this show even better. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Think of items that a class or race would potentially find valuable.